Fine. So we have discussed till now regarding the concepts of electricity. Electricity, we were started with static electricity, where we deal with the charges which are at rest and their properties and the effects of charge which is at rest, like electric field due to a charged particle, electric field intensity, electric lines of force, and all those parameters. Later on, we have dealt with the behavior of the charges while they are in motion, which is all dealing with the concepts of current, electricity. And while dealing with the current, electricity, at last we have focused on a particular point like heating effects of electric current. So what is meant by heating effects of electric current? It deals with the amount of heat energy generating in a conductor while current is passing through it. Whenever current is passing through the conductor, some amount of heat energy will be generated, so the temperature of the conductor will be increasing. What is the reason for that? Yes, when electrons are moving through the cross section of a conductor, they will be colliding among themselves. Due to that, some of the electrical energy will be converting into heat energy. So especially the resistance of a conductor is a main cause for heating effects of electric current and to convert a part of electrical energy to heat energy, which is heating effects of electric current. Similarly, our next topic to be magnetic effects of electric current. Means some magnetic property is going to develop with a conductor when current is passing through the conductor, which is magnetic effects of electric current. But earlier to that, you should have clarity that what is meant by magnetic effect? What is the phenomena of magnetism? In what way a material can have magnetic properties? You are familiar with the properties of heat and its concept. Heat is nothing but a form of energy that causes sense of hotness or coldness. When the body is gaining heat energy, its temperature will increase. When the body is losing heat energy, then its temperature will fall. Where temperature is the measure of absorbing heat energy or releasing heat energy. We can identify that. We are familiar. But now our topic is all about magnetic effects of electric current. So a material is going to develop some magnetic properties while current is passing through it. Of course, you know the materials that allow the electric current to pass through them are called conductors. So especially these conductors are going to develop some magnetic properties while current is passing through it. So you should be familiar with the phenomena of magnetism. You should be familiar with the properties of magnets and its nature. That is the reason why earlier to entering into the concepts of magnetic effects of electric current, we should deal with the concepts of magnetism. So what is meant by magnetic property? What phenomena is defined as magnetism? First of all, to say clearly, the phenomena of magnetism is nothing but the nature of attraction towards certain materials. The nature of attraction towards certain materials. Immediately you will get a point with you, sir, we have dealt in the earlier classes the nature of attraction between any two bodies in the nature, we define it as gravitation. Am I right or not? Attraction force between any two bodies in the nature was introduced as force of gravitation. But again you are telling here attracting property of a material towards the other is magnetism. How far it is true? You need to question yourself. You have to raise such questions with you. Yes, coming to the point of gravitation, which exists between any two bodies in the nature, any two bodies, without any terms and conditions, between any two bodies in the nature, there is a force of attraction, which is a gravitational force. And remember, the force of gravitation is always attractive force. But here, the force of attraction towards few materials in the nature, towards a few substances in the nature, but not between any two in the nature. Towards a few substances in the nature, a particular material is going to show the phenomena of attraction. A particular material is showing the phenomena of attraction towards a few substances in the nature, not towards all the substances, towards very few substances. And such material which shows the property of attraction towards a few substances in the nature, we call it as a magnet, and those few substances were introduced as magnetic substances. Immediately you will get a question again. Sir, why it was named as a magnet? Is there any reason to name such material as a magnet? I repeat, a particular material in the nature showing the phenomena of attraction towards a few substances in the nature, and the particular material was named as magnet, and those few substances were named as magnetic substances. But there is a reason behind the screen to name that particular material as a magnet, because this phenomena of attracting few substances in the nature was identified with the ore of iron, which is magnetite. This phenomena of attraction towards a few substances in the nature was exhibited by the ore of iron, which is a material known as magnetite. With that material, this phenomena was observed. That is the reason why the particular material was introduced as a magnet. I give some time even to take the running notes, so you can keep attention towards this, because I give some time to take the running notes. You don't worry. So the particular material which is magnetite attracting few substances in and around it. That is the reason why the material was named as a magnet. That is the reason behind the screen why such material was introduced as a magnet. So the conclusion is, and magnetism is a natural phenomena. It's a natural phenomena because it's a phenomena that was observed in the nature, exhibited by the ore of iron, which is magnetite. That is the reason why the phenomena was introduced as magnetism. That's the point what you need to understand. But whatever these magnets that are available in the nature, which is the ore of iron, was named as natural magnets, are not too strong. They were not too strong as expected. These natural magnets are a little weaker. They are not able to execute a very strong attractive power over the magnetic substances, or they are not able to attract a longer distant objects very strongly. Whatever the natural magnets that are available in the nature, they are not up to the mark coming to their strength of attractive property. Of course, these natural magnets are also known as lodestones. It is not LOAD, it is LODE, lodestones. Natural magnets are also known as lodestones. But these magnets can show their attraction towards very few substances in the nature which are introduced as magnetic substances, just like iron, nickel, cobalt, aluminium. These are the few examples of magnetic materials. And the materials which were not attracted by these magnets, were introduced as non-magnetic materials, which are just like paper, plastic, rubber. They are all coming under the category of non-magnetic materials. So we can classify materials into two categories based on their nature towards a magnet. If the materials are attracted towards a magnet, they are magnetic substances. If not, they were named as non-magnetic substances. These are the examples for magnetic substances like ferrous, iron, nickel, cobalt, aluminum, and so on. Non-magnetic substances, paper, plastic, rubber, they are all non-magnetic materials. That's the point. So, to strengthen the attractive power of a magnet and to increase the strength of the magnet, later on, a process was introduced to develop artificial magnets. To prepare magnets artificially, some techniques were introduced. But what is the purpose of preparing artificial magnets? Is to increase their strength, is to make strong magnets and to get the magnets of required shape and size. The phenomena of making artificial magnets was introduced. But what materials you can make into artificial magnets? Only magnetic materials. Magnetic materials only can be converted into artificial magnets, and the phenomena is introduced as magnetization. The process of developing magnetic properties with magnetic substances or the process of converting magnetic materials into magnets is named as magnetization. So during the process of magnetization, these magnetic substances can be converted into artificial magnets. You can see the cycle. These magnetic materials can be converted into artificial magnets using the process of magnetization. What is the purpose of this magnetization? To get artificial magnets, to increase the strength of the magnets, to get the magnets of required shape and size. That's the point what you need to understand. Of course, at the same time, if you wish to remove the magnetic properties, you can remove. And the phenomena is demagnetization. Converting magnetic materials into magnets and developing some magnetic properties is named as magnetization. At the same time, you can rid of the material, you can make the material to get rid of the magnetic properties, and the process is a demagnetization. So here you have two words, magnetization and demagnetization. The process of converting magnetic materials into magnets is known as magnetization, and the process of removing magnetic properties with a magnet is known as demagnetization. Of course, there are different techniques of magnetization and demagnetization. Before entering into the techniques of magnetization and demagnetization, we should question a particular point that what is the reason for magnetic properties of a matter, of an element, whatever it is. What is the reason for this? Why iron, nickel, cobalt, aluminum are attracted by the magnets? Why not copper, plastic, rubber? And why these magnetic materials only can be converted into magnets? Why not the other non-magnetic materials like paper cannot be converted into a magnet, like plastic cannot be converted into a magnet? So magnetic materials only will be attracted towards the magnets and can be converted into magnets, but not why non-magnetic materials. So there is something difference with the internal alignment or the internal composition of the magnetic materials. So what is going to differ the magnetic materials from non-magnetic materials? What is the reason? See, when you have learned the concept of charge, when you are talking about a charged body, you can say whether the body is positively charged or negatively charged. Once you have identified whether there is a deficiency of electrons or excess of electrons. This deficiency or excess of electrons is going to cause an additional property to the body called charge. Additional property, which is charge. At the same time, you have learnt in gravitation, as the body has certain mass, it has the nature of attracting the surrounding masses, which is gravitation. There I told you, even we are expecting that a tiny particles that are present in the body called gravitons that are causing mass to the body, but gravitons were not yet identified. Even I told you this point. At the same time, what property of the matter is going to make differing magnetic materials from non-magnetic materials? That's what we are going to continue. Once make a note of it. Fine. So what is our point now? What is the reason for magnetic properties of magnetic substances? What is the reason? To explain that, first of all, scientist Weber tried to initiate the reason for magnetic properties of the matter. Weber tried to initiate. According to Weber, when we are going to consider any magnetic material, just like for example, you have taken an iron rod, you have taken, just for some time, you suppose, you have taken an iron rod. According to Weber, any magnetic material can be converted into a magnet, and any magnetic material will be attracted towards the magnet, because the reason might be each and every molecule of the magnetic material can act like a magnet. Each and every molecule of a magnetic material can act like a tiny magnet, will be the reason for magnetic properties of the matter. And this point was explained in detail by his follower Ewing, and the theory was familiar as Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. Actually, it was introduced and initiated by Weber. The molecule of a magnet, each and every molecule of a magnetic material will act like a tiny magnet, so that magnetic materials will be attracted towards the magnet. Magnetic materials can be converted into the magnets. But the further explanation and the details was explained by Ewing. So the theory was familiar as Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. So we are dealing with Ewing's molecular theory conclusions. According to Ewing's molecular theory, yes, when we have taken a magnetic material just like an iron rod, each and every molecule of a magnetic material will act like a magnet. Then immediately next question. Yes, okay. Every molecule can act like a magnet. Then why iron don't act as a magnet? This is the next question himself. Himself he questioned few points and he answered. Yes, every molecule of a magnetic material acts like a tiny magnet. Then why don't an iron rod acts as a magnet? Then further, he was explained that, yes, of course, every molecule of a magnetic material, this is magnetic material, remember, this is magnetic material, just like iron rod. And this each molecule is known as a tiny magnet. Then what Ewing explained is the arrangement of the molecules is random. Of course, these are all the molecular magnets which can act like a tiny magnet, but the arrangement of molecules is at a very random. There is no regular alignment. There is a high irregularity among the arrangement of molecular magnets. Though every molecule can act like a tiny magnet, but because of their highly irregular alignment, the magnetic effect ultimately nullified with iron rod, so that iron rod cannot act like a magnet. So every molecule can act like a tiny magnet because of their highly irregular alignment, random alignment of molecules. So during magnetization, you know what is meant by magnetization already. The magnetic material can be converted into a magnet in the process of magnetization. For that, he has explained that, yes, in the magnetic material during magnetization, all the molecular magnets will try to align in a proper order. They try to align in a proper order. So due to that irregular alignment of molecular magnets among themselves, it develops some ultimate magnetic property, so that this iron rod acts as a magnet. So the conclusion of Ewing's molecular theory is the properties of magnets, the property of magnetic substances are all because of the alignment of molecular magnets. So the magnetic properties of a substance is a function of the molecular alignment. You know, periodic properties maatladadappudu, the periodic properties of the matter of the elements are the functions of their electronic configurations. Am I right or not? That's the reason why, based on their valency electronic configuration, some elements were placed in first year group, some elements were placed in second year group. Am I right or not? So that's what modern periodic table rule. All the elements were arranged in the proper groups and periods as per the function of their electronic configurations. Am I right? Similarly, according to Ewing molecular theory, the properties of your magnetic material are according to the molecular alignment. Next, see, during the alignment of molecules in the proper order, he was observed that there is a slight increase in the length of iron rod. As all the molecular magnets are going to align in the proper order, a slight expansion was observed in the length of iron rod in a magnetic material, and the phenomena was named as magnetostriction. Magnetostriction. The phenomena of increasing its length during the process of magnetization is introduced as magnetostriction. And of course, there is a slight rise in temperature even. There is a slight rise in temperature conditions during magnetization. These are all the conclusions of Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. Don't forget that. And the very important thing while observing these properties of magnets, they were identified a natural phenomena with magnet which is very, very important, that is directive property of a magnet. Ewing added this point to his molecular theory. Directive property of a magnet means, what is meant by directive property? While talking about natural magnets, we had discussed about natural magnets, you are very sure. or even you consider artificial magnets. But of course, we didn't come across artificial magnetization till now. We'll discuss. But once you have taken either a natural magnet or an artificial magnet, suspending freely in air, the terminals of the magnet will be along the geographical north and south directions. For example, you are facing east. For example, you are facing east. Then behind you, geographical west. North and south will not be vertically above and vertically down, because all the geographical directions will be in the same horizontal plane. Am I right or not? All the geographical directions will be in the horizontal plane, but not vertically above and vertically below. So when I am facing east, left of me will be north, right of me will be south. Am I right or not? Because north to east you have to move clockwise, north to east. So if you suspend a magnet freely in air, if you suspend, the terminals of the magnet will be towards geographical north and south. Means this will be the situation of your magnet when you suspend freely. The terminals of the magnet will be towards geographical north and south. So that the terminal of the magnet which is towards geographical north was introduced as the north pole of the magnet, and the other terminal was introduced as south pole of the magnet. So a magnet can be assigned a polarity as north pole and south pole. There is a reason particularly why they were named as north and south, why not as east and west? Because when you suspend a magnet freely in air, the terminals of the magnet will be along the geographical north and south. So one terminal of the magnet was named as north pole, the other terminal was named as south. So this polarity of the magnet is due to directive property of the magnet. Have you got the point? Now if you come back to this point of Ewing's molecular theory, when molecules were aligned irregularly, I told you each and every molecule can act as a tiny magnet. So that every tiny magnet will have its own north pole and south pole. Every tiny magnet will have its own north and south poles. Every tiny magnet. But when you have magnetized the magnetic material, they will be aligned in a proper order so that all the north poles of tiny magnets pointing out one direction, particularly all the north poles of tiny magnets are pointing one direction, and all the south poles are pointing the other direction. You can see here all the north poles of tiny magnet showing towards left of me, and all the south poles of the tiny magnets are pointing towards right of me. Have you got clarity on that? This proper alignment of molecular magnets will give the property of magnetism to that magnetic material. This is what Ewing's molecular theory and also added directive property concept. In addition to the directive property, he was added another point called pair property. Pair property, pair, it's a pair. Whose pair you know? North pole and south pole. Together will be always as a pair. It means a magnet can't exist as an isolated pole. See, you have learned the concept of electrostatics. You can have a positive charge alone, isolated positively charged body. You can have a positively charged body alone, where there is a loss of electrons. You can have a negatively charged body alone, where there is a gain of electrons. You can have an electric dipole, which is the combination of positive charge and negative charge. This is a metal rod. One end is partially positively charged, the other end is partially negatively charged. Then this combination we can name it as electric dipole. But here while dealing with the concepts of magnetism, remember, isolated magnetic poles do not exist. You can't have isolated north pole of the magnet. You can't have isolated south pole of the magnet. Once you are calling a magnet, it will be having a pair of poles. One is north pole, the other one is south pole. Sir, suppose for example, I have taken a bar magnet with north pole and south pole and I have cut the bar magnet. Yes, you cut the bar magnet, again each and every piece will have again its own north pole and south pole. Sir, again I have cut the piece again further. Yes, so still it will have its own north pole and south pole. So a magnet always exists as a dipole. Isolated magnetic pole do not exist. Whereas isolated charge can exist in electrostatics. You have isolated positively charged body, you can have isolated negatively charged body. But isolated north pole, isolated south pole do not exist. That is the reason why a magnet itself default is known as a magnetic dipole, because it always exists as a pair of north and south. This is called pair property. Isolated magnetic pole do not exist. So you have learned two properties of magnets automatically. One is directive property, the other one is pair property. This is very important. Of course, very well known point is like poles repel each other, unlike poles will attract each other, and which is well known as pole property. It's a pole property. Like poles repel each other, unlike poles attract each other. These are all the conclusions of Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. As per pole property, whenever all the north poles are at one end of the magnet, whereas all the south poles are at the other end of the magnet. Have you seen or not? In between, what is going to happen? The south pole of one molecular magnet can be coupled with the north pole of another molecular magnet. The north pole of one molecular magnet can be coupled with the south pole of adjacent molecular magnet. So there will be coupling between unlike poles of different molecular magnets. Have you identified or not? The north pole of this molecular magnet can be coupled with the south pole of adjacent molecular magnet. The south pole of this molecular magnet can be coupled with the north pole of adjacent molecular magnet. But at the ends, there will be no coupling. At the end, these north poles cannot find any adjacent south pole of the adjacent molecular magnet. Similarly, these south poles. Due to that, there will be repulsion among these like poles at the end of the magnet. That is the reason why they repel a little bit each other. So there is a conclusion that, listen carefully, we know one end of the bar magnet is termed as the north pole, the other end of the bar magnet is termed as south pole. But these poles will not be exactly at the end. They will be a little inside. So simply to say diagrammatically, if this is the bar magnet, I am telling, this north pole will be little inside to the edge and this south pole will be little inside to the edge. Have you seen the identification of the poles? Is it visible diagram? Is it visible? Have you seen the identification of north pole and south pole in the figure? I have identified them a little bit inside to the ends, but not exactly at the ends. The reason is, according to Ewing's molecular theory, when isolated poles are existing at the ends, they will have repulsion among themselves. When they repel, they slightly move a little inside to the edge. That is the reason why, to say theoretically, to say conceptually, magnetic poles will exist a little inside to the ends of the magnet, but not exactly ends. Of course, we don't consider that into account a little more. Mathematically, we don't consider it into account, but theoretically, we can explain this point. Poles of a magnet will exist a little inside to the ends, but not exactly at the ends. The reason is because of repulsion among the poles at the ends. Have you got clarity? So these are all the conclusions of Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. So first point, Weber has introduced the concept of molecular magnet. Asal molecular magnet ane word introduced chesinde Weber. Later it was developed by Ewing. So according to Ewing, as each and every molecule of a magnetic material can act as a molecular magnet, but iron rod cannot act as a magnet, so it has many molecular magnets. The reason is because of their highly irregular alignment. During magnetization, all these molecular magnets are going to align in the proper order and causes magnetic effect to this magnetic material. And there is a slight increase in temperature, increase in length, increase of length, nothing but magnetostriction. In addition to that, Ewing has explained about direct property, pair property, and also pole property. Remember that. Of course, we discuss separately the different properties of the magnet. Same, direct property, pair property, pole property. In addition to that, one more property is there, which is induction property. You have learned the method of induction in electrostatics. So do you remember? If a charged body is placed nearby an uncharged body, then partial B charges will be developed with this uncharged body. I told you induction method. So similarly, if a magnetic material is placed in the presence of a bar magnet, then some magnetic properties will be developed with that material, which we call it as induction. And if any magnetic material is placed very close to another magnet, some magnetic properties will be developed with that magnetic material also. That ability of a magnet to develop the magnetic properties with a magnetic material placed close to it. Shall I repeat? The ability of a magnet to develop magnetic properties with a magnetic material which is placed close to it is nothing but induction property. So a magnet can have that induction property, inducing magnetic properties, in addition to direct property, pair property, pole property. Have you got clarity? So these are all the conclusions of Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. But at last, but not least, some questions were raised by the people while dealing with Ewing's molecular theory. Ewing explained that every molecule of a magnetic material can act as a tiny magnet, known as a molecular magnet. Then people raised a question. Why the molecule of a magnetic material only can act as a tiny magnet? Why not the molecule of a paper? Why not the molecule of a plastic material? Why not the molecule of a rubber material? These are all non-magnetic materials. Wood, non-magnetic material. So, why only the molecules of a magnetic material can act as a tiny magnet? Why not the molecules of a non-magnetic material? Is the first question. What is the first question raised to Ewing? Why the molecules of a magnetic material only can act as a tiny magnet? Why not the molecules of non-magnetic material? Is the first question raised to Ewing, which is his drawback failed to explain. Next, we know that magnetic materials will be attracted by the magnets. Non-magnetic materials will not be attracted by the magnets. But beyond these 2 points, there is a point that a magnet is going to repel some other materials. A magnet is executing the property of repulsion. How that is possible? Like poles can repel. If A is magnet, B is magnet, placed like poles, then they can repel. One magnet can repel other magnet. Or a magnet can attract the magnetic materials. But interestingly, magnet is going to repel few materials like copper. Just like copper, one example. A magnet which is placed close to copper rod started repelling copper. Where copper is not a magnetic material. If it is a magnetic material and is converted into a magnet, then like poles may repel. But how that is possible? So in addition to identifying attraction towards magnetic materials, repulsion towards magnets, but magnets are interestingly repelling some other materials in the nature. What is the reason? So in this way, there are certain points that are raised to Ewing's molecular theory, which were explained later based on another theory called electron theory of magnetism that we are going to discuss. So remember the two questions that are raised with Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism as a drawbacks, and those points were explained in electron theory of magnetism. Hope you got it. So this is all the class related to Ewing's molecular theory of magnetism. In addition to that, we handled the different properties of a magnet like directive property, pair property, pole property, induction property. Now make a note of it.